Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join the panel, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we have Sleeping Warrior with us, who apparently has some big news. How are you doing, Sleeping Warrior?
All is good in the world. All is good in the world. You know, the age-old point that I've been beating my drum about with regards to the refraction value being negligible.
Right.
I now can quantify how negligible it should be.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna change everything. So that, you know, the like when Rumpus says things like, "Well, you do agree that refraction is a thing, right?" Yeah, we accept it's a thing. How much of a thing? Now we can quantify. And guess what? It ain't good for you ballers. The refraction value at like 76R is way too much. And I can prove it with some actual numbers of what it should be. Oh, it's going to be good.
Cool. Excellent. Where did you get this from?
Someone sent me a message in the link. I don't know if I should say his name. I'll not say his name because he's not told me that he could. But he just said, have a read of this. So I had a read of it, and it was similar to the article where the microwave bounce, you know, the long distance microwave transmission thing that we were talking about recently. I can't remember the exact values in that particular instance, but this one's 150 mile, and it's a world record. And I thought microwaves, they're part of the light spectrum. I wonder if they bend. Let's ask the question in a slightly different way. Do microwaves follow the curvature of the Earth? And guess what? They don't. So I was reading more into where the microwaves bend, and they can bend if you use different things to make them bend. But in the atmosphere, the values are basically zero. It's so good. So this guy gave me this link. I've done a bit of digging from that link forward to see what else I could learn from it, and I actually came across the value for what is the negligible. You know, what does negligible mean in the context of Metabunk? Well, 76R is about 15%. And on that basis, negligible could be what I've said, 1 to 2%, on the basis of, well, if you got a 15% pay rise, that wouldn't be considered negligible. That would be significant. What would be a negligible pay rise? And negligible pay rise would be 1 or 2%. In fact, it would even be less.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, what value should we give it? And I've always thought less than 1%, to be honest. Give them 2 to be generous, but really 15 is taking the mick. It's like hitting a panel pin with a sledgehammer. It's just massively disproportionate. But I didn't have a value to attribute to it, so it was difficult for me to actually argue it, because what value should it be? 76? What should it be? Like 99 over 98? I mean, what number do you put there to make it negligible? And obviously, any number that we attribute to it, they'll just dismiss straight away, and they'll just not have it. Well, it's not going to be the same anymore. Then we know what value we can put to negligible now, and it's got a lot of zeros in it, put it that way. So what I'm going to do, in fact, I could probably just screen share it now. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I can do that. So shout out to Ruhif, by the way. He's just messaged me on Skype saying, wow, early show. Yeah, Nathan's wet the bed. So right, so let's get rid of that. Let's make this bigger. Screen share. Now, if I open up the Megaflump calculator, are we screen sharing?
Yeah.
So I'll make the screen as big as I can. All right, so generally speaking, we do normally observations of around about 30 miles. Forget about the observer height. This gives us all the values, and we always refer to this refracted hidden to argue about the obscurity of what we're looking at. And, you know, it's
It's a logical fallacy.
It is the debate. It is where we have the disagreement, the fallout, the discussion, the debate. And Nathan's view on it is always, well, why do you just give them that? And the answer, of course, is, well, in a debate show, really, it is the debate. In real world, I haven't got an alternative number to give them when we start arguing about this, because I don't know what negligible means in this context. I don't know what value negligible should have. Now, obviously, I think for the sake of completion, we'll cite the part where I get the reference from. For those of you that may not have seen the show before, obviously this article from Science Direct, which is some troll always cites this particular journal. Have you noticed? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So in this article, it says talking about the trajectory of light. It says under standard circumstances, the effects are negligible. And I cite that all the time, and it's cited that often. It's lost its importance because it becomes trivial now because I've done it far too much. But in essence, the word negligible is there. So it's like, well, what value do you put to it? So I saw this guy's this guy's message about let's find this. Am I in the right thing here? I might not be. I'll just make sure I know where I am.
I have no idea.
Well, that's clearly not right.
I'll put my sunset up just while you look for it. Tell me when you're ready.
Oh, am I off now? Yeah.
Just while you look for it, just tell me when you're ready. I'll click it straight back on.
Okay, I'm just trying to find it. What the hell? I don't remember doing these. Ah, it's because I'm in the wrong thing. Right, hang on. It should be right. I'm back on it now. Flip me back on.
Yeah. Okay.
So this guy sent me this message or this link. And in the link, it got me thinking. It was talking about microwaves, and it was over 150 miles, and it was claiming to be a world record, which in itself is impressive, right? 150 miles across water, and they can get microwaves to communicate with each other, and that means having a pulse generating machine one end and a receiver at the other end. And not only does it have to go out one way for the receiver to receive it, it has to ping it back over a 7-layer. And you'll be able to explain this better than I can, but there's a 7-layer ping, like a communication between the two devices that is ping data. That's like a continuous connection between the two things. Now, given that the atmosphere does bend light, it has to bend light in such a way that the receiver would still receive it even once the ping data's gone. The handshakes that must be completed when it does the ping data requires very little refraction. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to get this technology to work. Is that somewhat about right, Nath, in terms of the ping data?
So far, so good as far as I understand it.
Yeah, they've got handshakes, and it's multi-layer handshakes. So that means you've got a repetition. It goes back and forth for the handshakes. So if the refraction is so bendy and so variable all the time, then that's going to create problems for connectivity. But so somebody asked this question. This comes from the question, which is, do microwaves bend? I guess I should show that from the start, actually. So we'll go with that. So, do microwaves bend? I think it was, do microwaves travel in straight lines? Do microwaves travel in straight lines? Microwaves, like visible light, are part of the electromagnetic radiation spectrum and are extremely high frequency radio waves. Looking bold, microwaves travel in straight lines and may be either reflected, transmitted, or absorbed by matter in their path. So in here, one of these references in here, I got this. I don't remember which one it was, but I got to this point. This one, and somebody had asked the question. Most articles say that a radio wave is able to propagate itself beyond the horizon because it is reflected off by the ionosphere and the Earth itself. But the radio waves also get bent according to the Earth's curvature due to gravity, thus transmitting beyond the horizon without the need for the bounce effect. So in other words, this sounds like a flat earther, right? It sounds like he's asking about the curvature of the Earth rather than the bending of the waves. So the response is yes, but the effect is extremely small and not measurable with regular radio. Some of the best evidence for the validity of general relativity comes from the time delay experiments in the solar system. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on. But then it says, calculating the path that a light ray takes in a gravitational field is a complicated business. Now, bearing in mind that the Mick West, the Mega Flump website, bases his refraction on the observation of stars as they approach the horizon. That's what he bases it on. That is kind of a misnomer because we're not doing any extraterrestrial observations. We're doing terrestrial observations. So there's no need for an astronomical reference for a terrestrial observation. But at least this one is claiming to be calculating the path that a light ray takes in a gravitational field is a complicated business. Well, at least a gravitational field is better than from space, which is what Metabunk does. So this is alternative, and it's relative to a gravitational field, which we are told that we live in. So this has got to be better than the astronomical reference that Metabunk uses. But for the special case of a light ray coming from infinity and escaping to infinity, there is a convenient approximate formula for the angle that the light ray is deflected. Now, look, obviously, the little bend here, right? This is where normally Snell's law would be applied, and there would be an angle of incidence and an angle of reflection, and ultimately you end up with this massively distorted bending of light. No, but this one's not doing that. This one's actually showing a bend in the light. So this, to me, feels better because we know there's no hard change in the atmosphere. There's no hard medium change for Snell's law to apply. This is really what we should be looking at because it's based inside a gravitational field. There is no change in atmosphere or change in medium for it to bend through. And this is creating a bend. Now, this is why I'm thinking Skunk Bay. This is what we see in Skunk Bay. We do see little bits of change, but it's how much of a change is it that we actually see. Now, with reference to Metabunk, when we have the 30-mile observations generally, we're going to be concentrating on this. We're going to look at the horizon dip value there, and we're going to look at this refracted dip value, right? So the difference, so we're looking at 0.04 and 43 and 0.040, right? That's what we're going to be focusing on because I think this is massively exaggerated. And then people will say, well, how can it be massively exaggerated when it's 0.04? It's quite a small amount. It's negligible. Well, I think this is massively exaggerated because at the end of the day, 76R is like 15%. So no, this value is miles too big, in my opinion. But now I can quantify it, right? And I can show why it's wrong. So it talks about the slight bending, and it says that basically it gives the formula, and it talks through the parameters of the formula so that you can get your head around it. But look at this. So the gravitational deflection of any electromagnetic wave by the Earth is entirely negligible. Not negligible. It's entirely negligible, right? And the problem with that is when you go through the maths that these give for the microwaves, which is part of the light spectrum, the result of it gives you 0.000000002. Now, I may have got one extra zero there. There's 6 zeros there for the degrees of bend. Now, when we go back to the Metaflump, he's only got 1 0, but he needs 6 because that's what it says. Now, the difference between the two is prominent because we need to know how much of a difference there is between 0.4 and 0.0000002. I mean, even the value there, 2. But look at how many zeros are there. So how far out is he? I mean, if this was in thousands, how much out is he in terms of the accuracy between the two? I mean, look at it. Look at the difference. Put 0.04, 0.0000002. That's how much of an exaggeration there is, right? So I'm not even sure I can even do the maths on this because it's working on negative numbers, isn't it? But let's try it anyway. So we need to do the small number divided by the big number. So we've got 0.123456.2. Divide that by the bigger number, which is 0.04. Let's see what number we get. 0.04. We should get. I mean, that's. I don't even know what I'm gonna have to get someone on the maths to this to work out how much of a difference between the two is. But essentially now we know that this 0.04 for the refracted dip value, or this is our value here, is massively too big because the value it actually should be is entirely negligible because it says so there. So the gravitational deflection of any electromagnetic wave by the Earth is entirely negligible. So it's not just negligible anymore. It's now entirely negligible. And it's the value that it should be given is that. So when it comes back to this little beastie here, that is way too big. So what we need to do is compensate and correct this exaggeration, and then find out what the effect of it is on the refracted hidden values. And then we can put it back into the context. And I bet you this value ends up being like, I don't know, when you're looking at the distance, the actual drop will be 600. So the hidden will be like, I don't know, like 589 feet or something like that. It'll be pittance, and it won't even be worth working out, which is essentially what the original article that I always cite from says. The effects of refraction are negligible. When you look up the meaning of the word negligible, it clearly says it isn't worth spending any time on. It's not worth calculating. It isn't worth discussing. Well, now I know what value it is. And that 0.004 is like thousands of times exaggerated, and that needs to be corrected. So I'll be working on that in the next couple of hours or so. And that 0.04 value, we're going to be writing that off and then redoing the maths and then seeing what these values should be based on a 30-mile observation, because we know that that is way too much. I hope you stayed with me there, Nathan.
Yeah, I was paying attention. Absolutely. I hope there's going to be another different calculator produced as well. I know there's talk of this that actually gives you the accurate drop values based on the circumference, not on tilting your camera down like Soundly does in his bullshit videos and Metabunk do in their calculation. You know, we don't tilt the camera down, but that's what they expect will happen when they do the calculation.
The FE Core is supposed to be setting one up, I believe.
Good.
I'm not sure who's doing it, but I'm going to find out, because I mean, we have an actual value. We know what we're supposed to be working on, but I don't know where this math comes from. Who cares? It's any maths. Any math seems to substitute when it suits. But if we feed in the mass of the Earth and set the radius value to the smallest value it can have, the radius of Earth, we get a deflection of 2.8 times 10 to the power minus 9 radians, or about 0, and I love saying this, 0.000002. You know, it's basically zero. It's almost nothing. And look at what value he's put for it for his nonsense. So it's like, and I don't know what, I don't even know where to go with this, but this is massively wrong. And now I know what I can argue when the likes of the Rumpus claim, well, we accept that refraction's a thing. Well, yeah, we do, but it's now entirely negligible. It's not negligible. It's entirely negligible, because that's what it says. So unless there's actual science to show how it can be somehow huge, and I just don't accept this nonsense of the application of Snell's law, because there is no hard medium change. There is no boundary for the angle of incidence. It's literally a curving that we see. We see it on Skunk Bay. We see it on Soundly with his, what's it called? The little Tensus Bayou experiment. We see that the light varies like little tiny amounts. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. This feels like what we see. The mathematically, or the algebra here, is consistent with what we're looking at with regards to Skunk Bay and Soundly, and it's negligible. And no, it's entirely negligible. So it goes worse for them boys. And I don't really know what to do with this, but I'm going to do something with it. We are going to have to do a website to show the effects of refraction based on science, because this nonsense that Mick bases is on 7/6 of R. It's nonsense. It's absolutely exaggerated to death, and I don't know how. But now I've got a value to counter it, and I'm dead pleased. So
they've calculated the obstruction, formerly known as curvature, at the horizon and applied it to everything you see. And the end result is things like the Isle of Man end up being entirely refracted. 100% of the land is a refracted image, according to their maths. Yet we have contradictory evidence that shows it's negligible. And when we take straight lines of sight to things... It's
entirely negligible.
So when we take straight lines of sight to things that are above the horizon, what do you know? It calculates out nicely in the same way surveyors calculate things out with straight lines and simple trig. That's what we actually see. Not at the horizon. We have obstruction at the horizon depending on viewer altitude. However, the actual images beyond the horizon, above the horizon, are not distorted, are not obscured. We have simple trig calculations that we can apply to them, and they turn out to show us, even though they can calculate it with an arc calculation assuming 7/6R, we end up with the same exact image, a flat plane representation of the world we live in. Because that's what we have. We do live on a flat plane. That is what presents itself when we look out.
So in future now, I'm not going to be citing just the word negligible. I'm going to be citing the word entirely negligible because that's more powerful, more prominent. And then I'm going to ask Rumpus to explain the maths for why he wants 76R. Because I've now got maths that tells me that 76R is hugely optimistic. And we won't be using 76R anymore. Yeah, I don't mind accounting for it in terms of refraction generally. But the angular variation is, what, 0, and then with 0.6 zeros before you get a value of 2. I mean, how small is that? It's nonsense. That's what we see. Over 30 miles, if you got that variation of angle, that's what you would see. You would see a little tiny little midget, like a bzz, and that would be it. And these guys explain everything with it, and it's nonsense. I feel so much better.
Straight to the intangible stars that Mick West cites for his terrestrial refraction, even though it's not terrestrial. Talking about terrestrial refraction, Ruhif, not Polaris.
Yeah, let's be clear. 76R is based, according to Mick West on his website, it's based on the stars as they get towards the horizon. He said that you get a little bit of a shimmer, and like, yeah, sure, we see stuff as they get towards the horizon, and it does get like distorted or refracted or whatever you want. We see that effect. We see it all the time, which is why when you go down to the beach, you get that layer of refraction on the horizon, which you guys call curvature, which we all realize is not actually curvature. It's some kind of obstruction that appears to be, quote, sly, an inverted mirage that appears to the observer as obstruction, unquote. I wouldn't want to get Sly's quote words wrong there. You know what I mean? He's a bit tetchy about that particular phraseology because he knows that he's put a mistake in there. That's the reason why we generally struggle getting like from the beach observations at distance. We generally struggle with it because we get that obstruction. So I don't know. I need to speak to somebody that's into the website calculator thing at not Metabunker, FE Core, and see who's doing it and what they're doing with it, because now we can put some maths into it. Basically, it's not even worth calculating for, which is what it said in that article. Ohio, have you seen Alkay's latest? Riley, a total scam merchant, 120 feet, not 35 feet. Yeah, that's because Google Earth is like, hang on, 120 feet. What's he talking about?
It sounds like total nonsense. We measured the height of the hill that was claimed to be 53 feet. I personally measured that, so don't know what he's talking about.
I know what he's doing. He's conflating the high point with the low point, claiming that the low point is the 35 feet one at 120 feet. No, that worked out to be 50, what was it, 52, 57 feet?
Something like that.
So, Rock Lover, at least get your facts right, because that's the whole reason why we're in this mess in the first place. I reckon Rock Lover is actually Sean Hufford, because the only person that misquotes me all the time that bad is Sean Hufford. So you've got to be Rock Lover, must be Sean. And he has the nerve to call out Miles Davis over 10 feet. Yeah, because he claimed to have measured it and he didn't. I've been very clear with him. But anyway, let's not get distracted. We can sing the refraction hammer, because that's coming down on that calculation like severely.
I don't know if you're around later. I think it'll be about 6 or 7 p.m. But John, or Quantum Eraser, is going to be on going through logical fallacies, which he's gone through with us off air before. But I'd hope you can attend if you are about later on this evening, so we can have a dialogue as opposed to just him explaining it to the audience. I'm happy if it's just him and I, but it'd be great if you were there as well.
Sure. I mean, my only problem with fallacies is that there are 3 or 4 key ones that do come up frequently. But the problem is if you get like over analytical with regards to the fallacies, the problem with that is everything becomes a fallacy because somebody's like worked out a way to intertwine it into a fallacy of some kind. But the fallacy means that, well, it may well be a fallacy, but it doesn't mean that it's an irrelevant point, therefore shouldn't be dropped. So it's like it's a bit. It's difficult to judge which fallacies are decent ones to be arguing. Like the straw man is a really good one because that happens a lot. People bring up arguments that were never made and then argue that point as though it was made. And then if you don't realize that that's a fallacy and a relevant one, then you're going to end up losing on a point that you never even brought up.
Well, that's specifically the fallacy that I'm hoping will cement itself with you after talking to John again, which is begging the question. Assuming the outcome. And presenting that in the presuppositional part of your argument. So in the case of Ruhif, what he essentially is saying to you a couple of days ago on the debate is, please can you accept that the Earth is curved and light bends around that curve, because it makes it much easier for me to prove that it's curved. It's like, as soon as you accept that and concede it for the sake of argument, essentially he's won. You've conceded that the Earth is a ball and light is bending around it. That's essentially what you do every time you go to that part of the maths. You're conceding their argument that the Earth is a ball immediately.
I just want to address what Ruhif's just put. He said, Nathan Oakley, you're not going to mention that Anthony was only talking about gravitational refraction, not atmospheric refraction. Well, can I just clear up what the problem that you've got with that is? It's talking about the bending of light around the Earth, right? So if, what does he say? If atmospheric refraction was a thing, right, it would have been answered by reference to atmospheric refraction. Now, the writer, whoever this person is, didn't write atmospheric refraction. He talked about electromagnetic. Now, we know that we live in an electromagnetic environment because we have, well, these things that you guys like to call gravitational waves, we call electromagnetic waves. Whatever they are or not are, we know that they are around us. So however you interpret them is kind of irrelevant. But the answer to the question about bending light on Earth wasn't to do with atmospheric refraction. It was to do with... what was the word he used? Gravitational refraction. And if he's going to cite it from a gravitational refraction point of view over atmospheric refraction, so be it. I don't have any problem with him not dealing with atmospheric refraction, because he's addressing the bending of light around Earth. And if atmospheric refraction was such a thing, he'd have said so. He didn't say it. So what? Maybe atmospheric refraction is literally pseudoscience, the way you guys argue it and need it to be. Maybe the real refraction that we should be talking about is electromagnetic or gravitational, if you want, because that's the answer that the guy gave. Now, if that is the divide between pseudoscience and real world science, tough, because that's the answer he's given, and he's qualified it with maths. So anybody that qualifies something with maths on your model generally is accepted to be king, because you guys like to think that maths is everything. Well, I don't. But we have maths that contradicts your maths, and it's based on electromagnetism or gravity, which we all know is a thing. Whether you're on the ball Earth side, it's gravity. If you're on the flat Earth side, it's electromagnetic. But in any event, it's based on electromagnetic. And if it's not to do with atmospheric, why hasn't he answered it? I don't know. I don't care. But at least we've got something here now that we can use to see how important the variation between the things that we're talking about are. And obviously, again, 6 zeros there, not one. That really, really, really changes the scale. I don't care that he didn't mention atmospheric, because it's probably pseudo. So there's the answer to your question, Ruhif. I've not answered this. Somebody else has. Put maths to it. Yeah, and there's no angle of incidence, and there's no angle of there's no application of Snell's law. I love that, because Snell's law doesn't even apply. We give it to you because you demand it. But like Nathan says, just because you demand it, you end up losing the argument or fighting the argument on a point that presupposes that there is a hard barrier change, that presupposes all the nonsense that you guys claim. It gives credibility to it by even arguing it. I like the argument. I like the debate. But I ultimately agree with Nathan. Even though I concede it for the sake of the discussion, I ultimately agree with Nathan. It is begging the question, because you're assuming a radius of the Earth for starters, but the maths that you've put to it differs from this maths. Now, obviously, this is far more favourable to me, to us, to the flat earthers. But who knows what maths it is? This is just showing that maths can be put in any scenario, and it can make anything be anything that you want it to be. But that doesn't change the fact that the answer to the question about bending around the Earth is given. So who cares? Atmospheric, electromagnetic. We know that we have we know that the effect of refraction is negligible. So, and it's not just negligible anymore; it's entirely negligible. So stick it in your pipe and smoke it, Ruhif. You're gonna have to get past entirely negligible now, and a given value based on maths. So.
He's also claiming that this particular effect begs the question using 8-6R. So they say, please assume that the Earth is a sphere and that these microwave transmissions are bending them around that said curve at 8-6R. So just assume that it's negated by 86R and that it's curved, please, and then it's much easier for us to just accept that it's curved. Just the same as terrestrial
Where have you got
refraction.
86R from?
Say again?
Where did you get 86R from?
I said Ruhif claims that in the chat.
Oh. Well, I'd like to know how Dodgy Mick West references this. He'll come up with some logically but well-produced or well-presented explanation for this. But fundamentally, the reason why I like this is because there is no application of Snell's law. And we know that that doesn't work in the atmosphere because it isn't variable enough in the atmosphere to have a hard horizon or a hard medium change. This, I mean, do you agree, Nathan? Like, this feels better because there's no hard change.
Well, we've got Ruhiv again. Nathan Oakley, in a standard atmosphere, the effective Earth radius for microwave is 1.33. It's like, oh really? So we're assuming that, again, it's being negated and that we have a curve. So you are begging the question.
Actually, in a standard atmosphere, the effective Earth radius for a microwave is, whatever the answer is here, 2.8
No, so he says the effective Earth radius. The effective Earth radius? What the hell are you talking about? The Earth radius doesn't have an effect on it.
Is it not an actual Earth radius? Is it just a presumed or an effective one?
Yeah, basically. An assumed Earth radius.
Yeah, because that's what Mick West does the same thing. He says, he dilutes his phraseology as well. He says things like effective and presumed, guessed, made up. Be right back, yeah. Bye,
theoretical, not true, nonsense.
Yeah.
But we'll assume it's there, and we'll assume it's being negated.
Yeah. Ramsey's last message. Fathead gives the game away, Lottie. I don't know what he's obviously having a back and forth with someone.
Runty's Cumberbund Chrome Dominion, I think is Lottie.
How does it feel to be exposed as a blind, moronic, pathological liar, Ranty? Well, no more blind, pathological, moronic liar than Mick West. I mean, Mick West he's the reason why you ballers all believe that Ben's so bloody much. Oh, well, we'll apply Snell's law, Riley. Do you not think that Snell's law applies, Riley? And I just say yes so that we can have the discussion. But the reality is, no, I don't. It may see, this is where it gets more complicated, because if you think of the bigger picture, right, that tiny one ray that your eye picks up right in the center of your vision may be refracted through a droplet of moisture or whatever, but all the other rays that are around it that don't get through that particular droplet of moisture don't get refracted. It's only that little one ray that does in the middle of your sight that you're looking at the time. Nothing else around it does. So it's like, how small is that then if the whole picture that you're looking at is not being refracted? It's only that one ray or the handful of rays that are coming from the pixel that's on the horizon that we're trying to calculate how much we can see. It's entirely negligible.
It seems to actually ignore atmospheric conditions. So take the Isle of Man. You've got the Isle of Man being affected across it on a, 30-mile expanse in different areas with different atmospheric conditions. It's not going to be consistent. And yet, light bends around it consistently with absolutely no visual effects whatsoever being able to be demonstrated or evidenced by globe heads. We just have to assume that it's bent around the curve of the Earth, negating it, presenting itself as though it's a flat Earth image. And we just have to assume that it has bent itself around the curve. Why would we ever assume this nonsense? Just have to assume it because Mick West has stated it and done some maths. Yeah, right.
Do you know, part of me wants to address the lies that are coming from Sean Hufford. I mean, Rock Lover. Let's get back to the original argument that Pinocchio Riley said 120 feet was 35 feet. Well, actually, that's incorrect. That wasn't what was being said, was it, Sean?
I don't know why people like continually misrepresenting you, but they do seem to find it like a sport.
They have to misrepresent me because, I mean, yeah, sure, I may make mistakes, I may get things wrong, but on the things that I'm right on, they've got to misrepresent it, and that's exactly what's going on there, because that isn't the representation that was made, but he's pushing it out as though it was. Well, that's good for you. If you were keeping up to date with the Flat Earth debate, you'll know that that wasn't the case.
Rock Lover's not Sean, by the way. His name's Vince.
Well, he's acting like Sean, so for the benefits of for the purposes of this discussion, he can be Sean. Are there any ballers out there that has any evidence of the shape of the Earth? Any evidence?
I was at my folks over the weekend, and it was my mother's birthday, so we had a meal together. And one of the subjects that came up, which has come up in the past, is space fakery. And previously, if you try and explain how space fakery is prevalent or obvious on a screen, you know, your TV, you go through it, and it's very easy to end up in a blazing row, because it's relatively easy, if you're stuck in cognitive dissonance, to look at the NASA footage and say, no, I think that's real. You know, you can argue the toss, you know, you can ignore the bubbles in space, you can ignore all the anomalies, you can ignore the trapeze, you can ignore all of it and just say, no, I think that's real. Whereas when it comes to the Tesla car, it's a very different reaction when you put that to people. You know, when you ask them the question, do you believe there's a Tesla car in space? Most of them sort of shrug away from it in a kind of grunty, I don't want to answer this very awkward question because I'm a space believer. It's useful.
I think that Tesla car thing, I mean, I think the phrase that spells it all out blatantly, obviously, is the one where Elon Musk says, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. Now, when I heard him say that, that was enough for me. That was an admission for me. It was a tongue-in-cheek admission that it's completely fake. Now, it may well just be explained or excused on the grounds of advertising. It could just be an advertising thing, right? Who knows? But reality is, if you honestly think that... But I think actually a lot of the ballers accept that as well, you know. I think that a lot of the ballers realise that it is not real, and that's why a lot of them are using it as their icon. But like publicly to us, they push that it's real. But privately, behind closed doors, they've got to admit and accept that that's nonsense. Just because NASA lies doesn't mean the Earth's flat. Yeah, it kind of does, because it means that they haven't got any evidence to prove that the Earth's a ball. Kind of the point.
How do?
Good morning.
Morning. Just thought I'd pop in and chill out for a little bit. I've missed quite a bit because you started really early today.
Yeah, Nathan wet the bed. So I had to get out too. So what's this? People go watch Al K's latest. What is Al K's latest? Is it the boat one from yesterday?
I don't know.
I think they're talking about this debunking of you being at 35 feet.
Really?
Something like that. That's what they're talking about. He's referencing Alk's videos, saying that, you know, he's debunked you being at 35 feet and apparently you're at 120, even though we've gone out, measured it, and given a maximum figure of 115.
No.
All right, upper cliff.
No, it's not. Upper cliff, he's saying. Upper cliff, not the lower cliff. He's talking about the upper cliff.
Yeah, I know which cliff he's talking about. There's only going to be one cliff that they're going to claim is 120 feet. But we've already said it's 115. I don't really get it.
No, but hang on, let's be clear. Rockcliffe was talking about the 35 feet reference, which is the lower cliff. He's claiming that the lower cliff has been measured at 120 feet.
Oh, that's just total nonsense. That's just total nonsense.
Say again, Nath.
So that's just total nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
Again, I've been there and measured. It's not, you know, the higher cliff, yeah, fair enough. If you want to claim it's 100 feet, we've already conceded that it's about that. You know, I don't really get it.
I think, didn't we concede 115 in the end?
Well, we measured it to about 90 feet, and then we extrapolated out the sea level and gave the maximum variation, which was about 30 feet at maximum. So if you want to add the tripod on, I gave it to 110, and then immediately Rumpus came and said, 5 feet for the tripod. It's like, okay, fair enough, 115 then.
Yeah, but to be honest, though, being at the top of that hill, you're not going to be at 5 feet. You're going to be at like 1 feet because it's windy as bloody hell. Anyway, so what was the claim then? So it was, did he say 115 feet, did he say, for the 35 feet observation?
Yeah, the maximum that you could have been at low tide is 115, based on actual measurements. And the maximum drop, the tide. So the maximum drop is 30 feet. That's the maximum. I think it's 7 meters. Is it 7 or 9? I forget. in any event, I calculated it out. We spent quite some time, Chris and I, extrapolating out mean sea level and working back with the maximum. That's the figure I quoted because it was the worst. It was the most to our detriment. And the end figure was 115 at low tide. So what you actually took the image at, if you want to give it the absolute maximum, was 115. However, your low tide isn't the lowest tide of the year. That's nonsense. So 115 figure was the absolute maximum if you pushed everything to the extreme, which it isn't. But
so basically, Rock Lover's comment says, Ohio, have you seen Alkay's latest? Riley, a total scam merchant, 120 feet, not 35. Well, the maximum that it can possibly be is 115 feet at low tide. But if he's got an extra 5, we'll give him the 5. But that's not at 35 feet. That was for the 57 feet, 52 feet one. That was the higher one. And that's based on absolute low
Anthony,
tide.
sorry, bear with me. Just qualify each of these statements. Now we're at the end of that. That's been, pretty much drawn to a close. We still use it as an example, but we're not really debating anymore. It's worth saying 57 feet was the amount quoted on Google Earth, which it was.
But what essentially the point he's trying to make is that somehow I've lied. But actually, the real world facts are what Al's doing is confirming our concession. We've conceded it because we're happy that the value is about what Al's claimed anyway. So he's about 3 weeks behind. We'd conceded that ages ago. It's consistent with our concession. So thanks for that, Rock Lover. You just showed that our concession was accurate. Thank you. So yeah, go over and like Alkay's videos. Generally, he's a kind of half-decent guy. He's a troll in chat, but at least he goes out there and does a bit of stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Alkay.
So is there any other ballers out there with any evidence whatsoever of the shape of our world? Anyone want to claim that turbines on the horizon are somehow proof of curvature?
Surprised people were questioning the validity of NASA in regards to flat Earth. I thought that was obvious. It's like saying that NASA's fake doesn't prove flat Earth. Well, as you pointed out earlier, no. But if that's your sole piece of evidence, your pictures of the Earth as a sphere come from that source and they're discredited, that leaves you with nothing. Literally nothing. What do you know, Ranty?
I'm just flicking through this video to see what he's done. I'll be talking in a couple of minutes. I'm nearly there. Just watching him throw the tape down, and it doesn't even reach the bottom. It's the same as Miles Davis's. It only reaches 2/3 down the hill. So I'm just wondering.
So he hasn't measured it. Right.
I think he's going to composite it.
So yeah, okay. But the ballers want to take that. It's like we've done an accurate measurement. I was challenged on how I took my diopter app. I can't remember who it was that challenged me. And it ended up, when put under sort of heavy scrutiny, it was clear and obvious that I'd done a really good job. I'm not going to blow my own trumpet too much, but, I had done a good job. Because I was trying to satisfy my own interest. It wasn't necessarily, yes, it was going to be presented, but I want to figure out what's going on in our world and how we see things. So therefore, it's in my own interests to get it as accurately as possible, to my own satisfaction, that is. Yet, ballers will come along, see someone throw a tape measure down, climb halfway up, grab it, drag it down, not get it taut at all, no angle to measure, and yet that will be accepted. You're like, whatever.
Hang on, wait a minute. It does actually reach the bottom now, so it's all one tape. So I'm just seeing what it does.
Take it all back, Alkay.
What all he's doing is confirming what we conceded. I'm happy with that. That's fine. And when you put the maths in for the benefit of everybody else, it brings back the tippy tops, the roof tiles of the lighthouse. It doesn't bring back all the lighthouse plus the ground underneath it, which is what it's supposed to do.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think he's just chewing through old footage. Maybe he's more interested in his videography career and he's just churning it out. Churning out the material.
Like yesterday's news, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what you expect from second-rate publications, though, isn't it? Be sure to subscribe to Nathan Oakley 1980 and Nathan Oakley to keep up to date with the actual Flat Earth debate.
To be honest, I appreciate the fact that he's gone back and done it because he actually confirms that the concession that we gave was accurate. I'm all right with that.
Well, although it doesn't show the actual tape measurement on his video, he actually tells us that the length of the hill using the hypotenuse is 151 feet. So when he threw the tape measure off the top of the cliff, he says that it's 151 feet high.
But doesn't prove it.
It doesn't show it on the tape measure now.
What did we get it to? What was what was on the tape? We got it to like 147 or something, didn't we?
That was when we did it. When we pulled it straight. When we just threw it down, it was about 115. Because do you remember when me and you were having the conversation about 100? And I said, "There's no way we're going to get it to 100 on its shortest possible route."
Right. It
was about 115.
Right. You know, the thing is, he's done all this work. He's left his P900 down on the beach, and he's climbed the hill, and he's done all this work. And the most important bit, showing the measurement on the tape measure, he doesn't show it.
Oh,
I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for him because he's done all that work.
Why did you not present your tape measure, Al? What's going on there? That's like a Miles Davis mistake, that. I mean, at least we showed the value on the tape, and that, I mean, you can't even argue the value on the tape, but you didn't show it in your video. Come on, Al. You were going so well as well.
Oh, apparently there's some evidence. According to Dave Shaw, Google Earth curve photo 1947. Jump on the show. There's a link in the info box, Dave. Feel free to come and present us with this amazing Earth curve photo.
Come on, Dave. Let's hear it. Google Earth curve photo 1947.
Don't Google it. Let's keyboard warrior Dave Shaw. Jump on, my friend. Jump on and show us.
Auntie, have you got an annoying cough?
Yeah, I've got a chest infection, mate. Lovely.
Because every time you do it, we can hear it on the mic.
Right, I'll...
Ranty, are you busy today? More specifically, later on this evening?
Yes. Why, what's up?
Can't hear you. There's a lawnmower going past.
So, yes, I am busy tonight, but what is it that you want?
Well, Quantum Eraser's going to be doing his presentation later on, 1 o'clock his time. I'm not sure. I think he's Central Time. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check with him, but it'll be early evening for us. But it'd be great to go through. I don't know if you were with us when we went through. I think it might have just been Anthony and Chris. Were you there?
I wasn't there, no.
Oh, Dave Shaw. Come on, you've made a claim there. Get in. Let's chat this one out, eh?
What's he saying?
Well, I'm just looking at the first pictures from space, right? And bear in mind, it's from NASA. Instantly, anybody that cites anything from NASA, we just generally laugh at. And I've got a response to him, but I want him to come on so we can make said response. So, Dave, go on, click the link. Join us. Come and talk us through why you accept this as evidence of the curvature of the Earth.
Lucy Yankee, did you take those photos of Al-Kaiti without him knowing?
Hang on. Does it matter if he did? The answer, of course, is no.
Public place. I can do what I want. I can film anything I want. So, you know.
So does it?
Whether he happened to appear in the video is irrelevant, basically. We were there doing our own observation. He was there doing his own observation. If I happened to capture him, so what? He was in a public place. And I was in a public
let me tell you this. If you saw the rest of the video associated with that one clip that you saw, you would realise how much Al actually did poo his pants.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not going to release that because ultimately that's, you know, it's not going to further the debate. So it's pointless showing stuff like that because it paints him in a bad light.
Oh yeah, it's creepy, isn't it? Taking a picture of somebody in real world out in the public space. Yeah, that's dead creepy. That really creepy. Not about. Let's forget about all the trolling that you guys do. The photograph that was taken. Yeah, dead creepy. That. Get over it.
Yeah. If you look at like Runty's Cumberland Chrome Domium, if you look at the image that's in that, some guy's taken a screenshot of a video when I published, and taken a screenshot of my head and my forehead when it was burned. And made an account of that.
It opens a bigger picture, doesn't it?
Yes, they've done this to troll me.
Yeah, it opens a can of worms, though, doesn't it? Because what these guys seem to be trying to do is pull the victim card. And it's like, oh, right. So you are going to pull the victim card if you think that you've got enough on us to be able to do that. Well, guess what? You guys are you're the bottom of the tank, you lot. And if he is going to start claiming victim, I'll be reminding him about all the nonsense that he's been citing in text as well, because he's not exactly a friendly troll in text. He's fine in real world, but in text, he's an idiot.
Who are you talking about?
Al K.
I'm sure I gave him a victim card. He is entitled to use that victim card.
Nah, he isn't.
I did give him one. A victim card.
No, he can't use it. He can only be a victim if he really is a victim.
That's what the point of the victim card is. If you're not a victim, you use your victim card. Come on. Don't you know the rules?
It should be used sparingly, though. Anyway, Dave, whatever his name is. Dave, what was his name?
Dave.
Dave, come on.
Dave.
Click the link, Dave. In you come.
Yeah, there's an interesting article I found yesterday, wasn't there, Anthony, about the lasers off the moon.
Oh yeah, with the retro reflectors.
Absolutely.
Well, without
or
the
lack of retro
without
reflectors.
Yeah, I mean, so the argument is that they can measure the distance to the moon, and we know
that they can prove that they went to the moon. They can prove they went to the moon because they can bounce lasers off the retro reflectors. Right, that's their proof that we went to the moon. Right. However, 7 years before they were even put on the moon, and before they even landed on the moon, they were able to bounce a laser directly off the moon back to its originating place, both Russia and America. So
they're definitely not proof of any retro reflectors.
Absolutely.
I got M. Scott Veach piping up. Did Daddy tell you they left them on there, did he? Did he say that he left some retro reflectors up there? Yeah, Daddy lied.
So come on then, Scott Veach. How are you guys going to get past the reduction that's been from
hang on, wait a minute. We're skipping over this point. M. Scott Veach, the son of an astronaut, has just said we could do it without the mirrors too. Right? So not just the Russians, but the Americans. So there we have an admission from an astronaut's son that they could reflect the lasers off the moon prior to them even landing on the moon. So anybody that ever comes forward in the future and says we can prove we went to the moon because of the retro reflectors on the moon, we now have not only M. Scott Veach doing it, but we have the documentation to prove that you were able to do that before they even went to the moon.
Yeah, Brian Cox went out to the observatory that fires up these lasers to the retro reflectors to get a return signal of a couple of, quote, photons return signal out of the millions and billions that they bombard it with. But he had to have it explained to him, why is this important in relation to the moon landing? And the producer's explaining to him that if we're bouncing stuff off the retro reflectors, it proves that someone went up there and put them on the moon. Well, no, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't even prove that they're measuring it. Stink like a ballers today. Hey Dave, sure, excellent. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good to have you.
Hey, amazing. I've never used a headset on this computer, so I wasn't sure it was going to work.
Good stuff. So, have you got a photo you need to present to us?
Well, just what I was posting there about the 1947 picture. I could post a link if you want. Now, I guess I'm in this Hangout thing.
Yeah, I'm sure one of the guys will present it for you if you don't know how to do it.
I can present it. I've got it on screen. Share screens. Thanks for joining, Dave, by the way. I didn't think you actually would.
Well,
me neither.
Today's your lucky day.
All right. So I'm guessing. I mean, all I've done is I've took the link. I've done what you said. Earth curve photo.
Yep.
And first pictures from Earth. Is this the one?
Let me see here. Whoops. Yeah, the pictures thing. Yep. First pictures.
Okay. And then this is what pops up. So is this what you're citing as curvature?
Yes.
Hang on, I want to try and move over to the left, to the right even. Let's Try that. Oh, that is
Sorry,
it.
can you
Okay.
just talk us through it, Dave? Because what I think I'm looking at is a composited image of several stills that seem to be overlapping each other.
Well, yes, so it's I guess because of the field of view, etc., from the camera they were using at the time, they couldn't take the whole expanse from from one edge to the other, so they use the composite of the pictures together to show the wider view. Yes.
But would you consider the possibility that these could all be straight and the actual bend is created by putting the angles in on a bend, like
No,
a
because
50 piece?
if you look at the shape of the clouds, they try to maintain the sort of shapes of the clouds. They don't have like hard, crazy angles where the photos could touch each other. The clouds seem to maintain what should be their shape. You know what I mean?
But the horizon clearly doesn't.
It's the well, it's the thing is the horizon is black. You know what I mean? Like that you shouldn't consider that upper edge of the photo like a cut off piece of the photo. You should consider that the blackness of space.
No, I'm not on about the upper edge. I'm on about the adjoining edge. I mean, if you were going to line these photos up like a composite like this, I mean, Ranty got criticized to death for doing like something similar. You've got to get these lined up. So if you were going to claim that this was like curve, wouldn't you at least line up the horizons to make it look like it was like joining properly?
Well, I mean, I guess it's going to start to get into an argument about how close is close enough and all that type of stuff. But like I said, based on
welcome to our world. Welcome.
I know. Based on like where you had your mouse before at that particular joining point there. Now, if you follow that down to where the clouds are, they're obviously trying to do their best to line up those clouds and make them into a continuous block.
Well, hang on. For instance, on this one, it's got a prominent misaligned join there. That's obviously a misaligned join, right?
Anthony, can I say something?
Yeah.
These. This is obviously a composite, isn't it? And each composite after the next composite has been angled differently to the one prior. So to give the illusion of a curve, I would imagine if you put a straight line through each and every composite image, there would be probably a very, very straight line between each. But they've just angled and changed the angle of each composite to make it look like it's going around the ball. And if there is any curve, then it certainly won't be to the degrees that they're saying it is.
Let's crop out that one. Oh, I can't rotate on this, can I? What I was going to do was rotate that round a little bit. It's not going to work. Ignore that. I was just going to make a composite out of a straight line and then make it look bent by putting
all you have to do is copy the image and put a straight line through one of the composites and just see whether or not it is a straight edged composite.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
So if I get snipping tool. Oops.
Composite de la Ohio. It's not a picture, it's a composite. That's what we're criticizing. So no, we weren't just going to accept this pic because it isn't a pic. It's a composite.
It's a composite, and to be fair, the one I did from St. B's, which incorporated perhaps a dozen different images, if I really wanted to, I could have made that into a circle, like a complete circle, if I'd have just changed the direction of each composite piece and changed the degree on it by maybe 15 degrees. Eventually, they would go around in a circle and meet up, even though I was looking at a flat image.
Right.
On this particular,
the yellow line lined up there.
On this particular snip, there's two joins here. So go for the middle bit.
Right, and
it's a ball. Yeah, you're right. It's a ball.
It's there's a little bit of fuzz above that yellow line, which is pretty much showing a minute amount of curve, but given the fact that
so if that's
the slice of the pie, if you want to call it that photo represents, you're not going to see like a very severe amount of curve.
Okay. Well, there's three composites in the entire image, isn't there? So could you, Anthony, could you put a line from the very start of the first composite to the end of the last composite and just show the actual change in degrees between three composites as opposed to one composite? because the one composite you could barely see anything. But when you put three together, you can see how much they've warped the degrees that they've stitched them together at to create the illusion of probably what, a 10-degree change there. There you go. Put your line in from there to that. Now, do you think that is consistent with what you've just seen with the main image, the main one in the center, the main block? Is that curve consistent, or have they exaggerated the curve?
I think it's fair to say that the quality of the composition, the way he did, it equally comes back on the people that created this composite in exactly the same but worse. Because this is NASA. Ranty's wasn't even this bad.
Thanks very much.
Well, as I mentioned in my comment, this photo was not taken by NASA, because NASA didn't exist for 11 years yet when this photo was taken, or these composites were put together.
So who took them?
So if this didn't get taken by NASA, who took it?
No, whatever American. I have to read the text to see who took the picture, but
it's on NASA's website, right?
Right. They're hosting this photo, but it wasn't taken by, quote unquote, proper NASA.
But you don't know who did take it?
Not at this moment, no.
Well, unless we have evidence to the contrary, it would be NASA, or at least some part of NASA, right?
No, because NASA didn't exist till 1958.
But you haven't got any evidence of who took it, and it's on NASA's website.
Here, let's take a look.
Oh, hang on. It says there, taken by the Applied Science Laboratory,
right,
Johns Hopkins University for the U.S. Navy. That might explain why the composite quality is terrible, right? Because it was done by the Navy.
I won't speak on behalf of the Navy in 1947 and their skills at photo composites.
But I mean, a 3-year-old could have done better than that. Honest to God.
I mean, the other thing to consider is, there are 2 photos presented in this web page, right? The one that we've been talking about, but there is also the upper one as well.
I imagine if
which
you put them
seems a little smoother and nicer, and is made up of more composites and.
Do you think?
Blah, blah,
blah. Let's try that.
Wow, is that? Oh my God! Look at that. It's even worse than the other one.
Make that double the size.
Like where it says south, there's that piece, and then there's the piece next to it on its right. I mean, that looks fairly nice there. I mean, that piece alone, between the part that has south over it and the next photo over, I mean, that shows a heck of a curve.
Which, from the word
without the little bumpy, like, I mean, there's obviously a tiny bit of a seam there where your crosshairs are, just a little bit there, but I mean, it's not the worst kind of joining of 2 photos together there with the minute little bump they have between those 2 photos.
Okay, Anthony, so
every time you cough, Ranty, the other guy gets clipped.
Right, sorry. The second and the third image. So next to south, you've got an image
right.
to the right, and then after that, you've got another image next to that. So the 2 in the middle. Would you put a line between them?
What's this? What's this little bit here? It looks like a Mount Everest just popping up in the background.
Without looking at the like the original thing to blow it up properly, I mean, who knows what that could be
evidence
like a crud. I don't know. I mean, that could be a piece of that could be something on the negative itself. It could be something on the thing that was printed on. It could be something that was if they did a scan, it could be a piece of crap on the scan. Like, I have no way of knowing what that little bump is.
That looks like a big crevice that might be a bloss of some kind on the lens, but that bit there looks like it's been played with, like digitally.
Post, like, sometime between 1947 and whenever they decided to post these pictures, somebody went in and thought,
who knows,
putting in a little 4x4 blob of white pixels would be like, the wise thing to do.
Manipulation on the image. And which is the bit that you said was curved? Did you say it was this bit?
Well, I'm saying between the first, under the south photo and the next one next to it.
Yeah, where it says number 2. Keep going to the end of that one. No. Yeah, from there to the original one you just had.
I mean, there's a nice little bit of curve there in the there's the number one at the joining point there, the one in the white circle. I mean,
yeah, but if that joining point,
that's sort of the peak of the.
If that joining point had been brought down, then that's going to be basically flat.
Well, can you go over every composite from left to right and just see how flat each composite is?
Well, I can't see a join on this first view. That's stitched together quite well. There's a join to there. Yeah, that's a little bit of curve there, isn't it? But the problem with that is there's this bit here that looks like it's been played with.
Yeah, but then you look. No, if you extend that line now, you'll see how much they've dropped the angle of that particular composite piece in relation to its neighbor. Yeah, look at that. Right, right. So there you go to the next one. Now you just move that line now, and you'll see.
That's kind of the angle that Mick West exaggerates. Is
yeah, come on. That's the composite that's been stitched together and twisted to make it look like it's a curve. Because you don't see that.
I mean, to be honest, if we push this as evidence to support either argument, the ballers would laugh at us for doing this.
But again, you have to go back and look at the stuff within the photos themselves in terms of how the clouds align, and they don't have such severe, kind of janky angles where they join, like say above the one with the circle, the one with the circle, like there's that little puff of cloud above it. I mean, that looks pretty contiguous from one photo to the next.
They can put clouds on, don't you?
Oh, great.
You can put clouds over.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna get into the every photo can be faked.
Well, hang on. Let's argument. Clouds. I mean, we've got a cloud that rises up there and then stops at that line, and we have another cloud that stops at the line, and then there's a thin line. I would argue that that's not lined up.
Well, you also have to factor in, unfortunately, they don't give you a lot of detail, and I'm not going to start, I can't make a seriously educated guess, but I would say there's going to be some time lapse between one photo being taken and the other. So when one cloud appears in the, let's call it half the cloud is there in one photo, but it's not in the other. It just means that either the cloud shifted left or right or whatever at, between subsequent photos. Like, it's, again, this is a composite, right? So the status of the clouds will be within that particular slice of the pie, if you want to call it that.
Well, the problem we have is that if this was presented in today's modern world as proof of the ball, it would be ripped to shreds. And to be fair, it is being ripped to shreds right now. It's just not up to standard.
It's naff, to be honest. I can see why you'd want to accept and believe this. Oops.
Well, no, I can't. Hold on, Anthony. So let's hear why. Why do you find this acceptable?
Why do I?
Yeah.
Why do I find it acceptable?
Yeah.
Well, I say because, granted, there are these little, I don't know if you want to call it little big mismatches or anomalies at the edge. But overall, in terms of along the seam of one photo to the next, the clouds.
Sorry, hold on. Is that you, Arwen? Nice. Is that you, Arwen?
Yeah. No,
all right, you carry on. My apologies.
Are we still here?
Sorry. Carry on, Dave. My apologies.
No big deal. No, I just.
Oh no, it was a fake Arwen. Great. Girl from Panema. Should have known it wasn't Owen. He's never up at this time.
It is me.
It is you. How come everyone
Yes,
got
it
sniped
is
then?
always me.
But
There
I
is
thought
no
you said
faking.
hello, but I thought it was just someone faking being you.
No,
How did you get
It's
sniped then?
always-
Because no one else joined.
I get sniped instantly. The
But
second
no one else
I
was
arrived.
here. No one else had joined.
I don't know who did it.
I don't know. I didn't see anybody join, but to be honest, I wasn't watching at the time. I was too busy laughing at the bad composite.
Yeah, Lushenko, I don't even know how to do that. So
That was weird. I don't know how somebody sniped because nobody joined. So either it was the guest that we had, Dave, who seemed like a reasonable enough guy. I'm not suspecting he would do that, but there was no one else in here.
I have no idea how that works.
It had to have been Dave, surely.
But there can be no other explanation. No one else joined.
Well, if it was me, I'd say, and I didn't. I was too busy laughing at the composite, as you could see on the screen. I was fixing their little mountain that was sticking up.
T-Bone says, I sniped you. Don't know how he got in. I didn't even see him join.
Hey, Ranty.
Fair enough, T-Bone. Thanks for admitting it.
Weird.
It was terrible. Awful time. At least 2 minutes of having to press a few buttons. Terrible, T-Bone.
So what did I miss so far? I literally just woke up.
Oh, what did you miss? We found out a value to negligible for refraction. It's now become entirely negligible. It's no longer just negligible. It's now entirely negligible. And I found out a value for how much it's negligible by. And basically, Metabunk seems to be exaggerated by thousands of. I don't even know what the phraseology is here because it's that big. The exaggeration, but we now know what the maths should be, or we know what a set of maths that's favourable in our case to show the entirely negligible. And it's based on gravitational refraction, and they don't want it to be gravitational refraction; they want it to be atmospheric refraction. But we're having gravitational refraction because I'm endorsing the gravitational effect at the minute. I'm loving it.
Never heard of
To
that one.
Ian Matheson for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Gravitational refraction? How does that work?
Well, it's bent around the gravitational fields of the Earth, and I love this.
Oh, it's their new invention. They finally came up with something.
Yeah, well, no, it came from someone sent me a link. I'm not going to mention his name because he didn't say that I could, but it was essentially 150 miles worth of radio wave transmission over a lake or over water. Could have been a sea, could have been an ocean, but it was 150 miles, and that got me thinking, well, can radio waves bend around the curvature of the Earth? So I did a bit of Googling, and then I found some maths that said that technically there is a little tiny bit of bending, but it's like, it's described as, what was the word? Entirely negligible, right? Not negligible, entirely negligible. And it shows the maths, it shows no application of Snell's law, which I don't think even applies because there's no barrier change, there's no hard medium change. And I just agree with the principle. The mishap or the failure to apply Snell's law is a good thing. That is not how we see our atmospheric refraction, but it's described as gravitational refraction, and I like that, and that's what I'm going to push because Snell's law doesn't apply.
Okay. Still don't see really where gravitation comes in. Every time I hear that word, it seems fictional somehow.
Yeah. I think that it is sci-fi. I think once you get to the point of Snell's law being applied, that's the point where it becomes pseudoscience because there is no, and the other thing, of course, is when they show the application of Snell's law, they put like a massive angle on it. And when they put the massive angle on it and they show the angle of incidence, and it's based on the what's the word I'm looking for? The value that they give. I mean, put it this way: the difference in density of the medium of air over water, the difference between the two is 700 times more dense water is to air. 700 times. But do we see any water in the atmosphere? No. We see vapor. Vapor's not water. So what's the what do you put for going through a water vapor?
Well, it is. Yeah, it is water.
It's
But
vapor, which is a gas, which is less dense than what the air is itself.
But there's also the droplets. That is why you see clouds.
Yeah, but then you can't. That creates opacity. That doesn't create refraction.
True.
So if it's 700 times more dense and you can't see through a cloud, that's consistent with what we see in real world because clouds stop you from seeing stuff. 700 times more dense, you can't really expect to see through it, and we do see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when we worked out, when I was showing that Midwest puts the value in for his angle at about 0.3, I think he put it in, or no, 0.04, I think he puts it in at. But it should be 0.0000002. Now he puts it in at 0.04, which is like thousands of times more exaggerated than what it should be. So we need someone to play around with the math there and get it to be a lot more reduced because it's exaggerated to death. And we've got some maths to prove it because maths is proof, right? Have you come into cough as well?
Yeah, I'm coming to join you. I'm coughing.
Lukaniki, or whatever you say his name, says, why don't you just admit that one of you removed Dave? Well, the entire panel got removed, so that leaves one person that could be the perpetrator of that, and that would be me, and you would actually see me doing it on screen. So
it can only have been Dave by a process of elimination, because you could see that I was on screen and I was playing around with the mountain in the background. I was fixing the mountain, so it wasn't me. Ranty, possibly, but the guest was talking.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
It has to be Dave.
That's all your fault, Rand.
Yeah.
No.
Unless
Another possibility.
Why not?
What
Could
could
be
have
Arwen.
happened? It could also be that somebody is remote controlling one of our accounts and
Nah,
basically hacking our computer to snipe.
nah. You'd see the mouse. You'd see the mouse.
let's not blame Dave. We don't know it was Dave. We don't know. It could have been an anomaly. Who cares? Who knows? It was
Ranty,
2
I'm gonna
minutes
strangle
work.
you
It
if you
doesn't
carry on
matter. Let's not spend 20 minutes talking about it when it's literally 2 minutes work to solve whatever problem was caused. So it doesn't really matter. It's not important.
Nah, get out of that one. Yeah, he's been muted.
Oi. Be ill on your own time.
So I can't die on my own here.
Yeah, but I've got her coughing down my other ear. I've got you on one side, her on the other.
Aren't you?
Yeah, I believe you, Dave. He says, I'm Canadian, I'm nice. I believe you. You're a good guest. And thank you very much for joining. I do appreciate it. And thank you. We almost got to the end of your explanation of why you accept a crappy composite as proof of Earth being sphere, but that's fine.
Ranty!
Yo.
Mute when you're coughing.
I'm going to lower my mic down. How's that? I'll
Just
lower
press
it right
mute.
down. No. I'm watching your back door.
Do it quietly then.
Muzzbuzz says, who cares who was sniped? The pick was a composite. Next.
Yeah. It was worse than Ranty's composite, to be honest, and Ranty's wasn't even that bad. It caused loads of problems when Ranty's
Wait a minute.
composite was
That's kind of
challenged.
like the worst backhanded slap.
Yeah, I thought that.
I've ever
Ranty's
received.
composite was good.
No. Ranty's composite was challenged to death by them lot. They called him all the names under the sun. Yet for some reason he accepts that composite was acceptable, and I'm like, are you kidding me? It looked like a 50p piece. Straight edges everywhere. And it was taken by the Navy.
Okay. The Navy.
Yeah, apparently so.
So I think what happens is when you get a point that the baller is the baller is failing miserably, someone either comes in and snipes or they snipe themselves.
Yeah. Or somebody like Lewis comes in and goes, let's talk about refraction or something completely off topic, and basically derails the point.
Yeah,
I remember Grimby going bobbity 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 bob because somebody got cornered, and I'm like, yeah, it's typical reaction. You couldn't be any more obvious.
Yo.
Check Skype for a non-composite image. Let's see. A single photo.
Listen, if you guys believe that you can see the entirety of the Earth from the ISS, that's what you guys believe. You believe that essentially, if you hold a plate in front of your face, because that's how big it would be compared to the ISS in front of it, you could see the entire Earth from that distance.
Nath?
Yes?
Could you share my screen,
Okay.
please?
There you go.
Okay, so this is the file that Ruhif has just sent to me. Ranty, if you're going to cough, stick yourself on mute. And what we'll do is we'll take this one. We will copy it. We will open it up in Paint. We'll paste it. We'll resize it to a size we can play with, say 500 again. Too much. Resize to 300. Oh, where's it gone?
David Reed says, looks flat.
There it is. Resize that to say 300. There we go. Let's get a nice straight line. Give it a bit of thinness so it can be seen. All right, what's your point, Ruif?
Thanks, nice. Sideways on flat Earth picture. Thanks, Ruhif. Very good.
What's your point there, Ruhif? Is this meant to be showing curvature? If anything, it looks like it's going the other way. It looks like it's higher on the sides than it is in the middle. It looks like it dips in the middle.
Concave Earth.
Yeah, we live in a frisbee. Thanks for that, Ruhif. That was really useful.
Sorry, I'm just going to say this. That was garbage.
Yeah. Shout out to Ruhif.
No. Single pictures are not going to cut
Oh,
it.
he says scroll down. Apparently that wasn't the right picture.
Oh,
that was even
that
worse.
was the first photo from space proves flat Earth. Move on. Different photo.
Right, let's do the other picture. Am I back on, Nath?
This is where they curve the flat. This is how they do it.
Am I back on, Nath?
Yeah, you're back on.
Right, so this is the first picture, right? And he asks us to scroll down. So look at the
Wait a minute. Why is this not good? Why do we have to look at another picture? Because
hang on.
I'm with Ranty actually. Why is it that we look at a picture, the one we're instructed to look at, and it's like no.
This is the old one.
Let's look at the other one. It's like no, let's have a look at this one.
Why
This
should we
one's
look at
good.
another one? We're looking at this one. This is just the Earth as well.
No, hang on. Shush, it gets better. Look. Let's look at the composition, right? We've got white bits here, we've got white bits there, and a dark bit in the middle, and it kind of looks like it's like a roller coaster, like a Loch Ness. Look at what happens on the next picture. And look at that one. That one's like as lumpy as a sea as well. Let's try this one. So we'll do.
It's quite good for a laugh, though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Everyone in chat is saying really. That's the wrong image. They don't want you to look at this one. They want you to look at another one.
No, but that one is actually really interesting because could be that this picture it seems to be kind of cloudy and that maybe
perhaps this one was done with a fisheye.
No, I think there has been distortion in this picture, and that so accidentally happened to cause that bit of a apparent curve. But it's go keep the ruler to it. It actually looks pretty straight.
Well, what the hell are we looking at? I mean, can you see anything?
An accidental curve.
That middle part is lens flare reflecting. It's reflecting itself back up. If you hold the line, if you lower that yellow, can you see how it's a mirror image on both sides? Just down a bit, Anthony, with that blue line, just a tad. You see how it's mirroring itself on either side of that blue line.
I want to point one thing out. What are we identifying exactly? So with Isle of Man, we've got to go through and identify down to the pixel what we're looking at. This is garbage. What exactly is it? It could be a water painting that someone's dribbled down the side of a. It's absolute garbage. This is supposed to be proof of the Earth. You show me one piece of land that you can identify in this crap.
But even if it was, though, Nath, even if you could prove that this was Earth, I would say that the way that this lens is producing this horizon, it appears to be a wavy horizon. That is, for me, clear. That's me. That's my interpretation. That's
when
a
was
wavy
this taken?
lens. It's not a particularly good lens.
Was this taken in the 40s?
Who knows?
I've seen better resolution from stuff in the 1800s. It's ridiculous. It's total garbage.
Where is it? What is the black spot? Is that like the entrance into the middle of the
Who says,
Earth?
I know, we'll go up to space and we'll take
really
a box
freaking
brownie with us to take the picture?
Hang on, can we have a look at this car again in space? I would like to see that. I want to know why the tyres haven't exploded.
Apparently they've taken the valves out, even though Elon Musk said that they didn't change anything about it.
He said it was straight off the floor.
Yeah.
The showroom floor, straight off the bit.
I'm always wondering where are the stars? Nobody likes to talk about that.
No, I think it's a fair point. Well, there they are.
No, wait a minute. Click on that second image. You know, the one that shows the full moon? The full moon with the... Right. Click on the one that shows the full Earth. Sorry, full Earth, not the full moon. My mistake.
The third one.
Background. Third row down.
This one here?
Third row down.
That is the third row.
Yeah, that one. Right? Click on that.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool, to be honest. Ridiculous, but cool nonetheless.
There we go. So look at that image. Are you telling me that they were able to get that far away from the Earth within, what, an hour or so? And it was able to see the entire world in that kind of... Where's the land masses?
Over to the right.
Where?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Australia's there, I'm sure of it.
Where's
Australia's
the
there. But that's, quite a lot of missing land. I know what you're saying. I mean, I think they accept that it's a fisheye representation, and having modelled this out with Chris, you don't actually have to get very high at all. But it seems illogical that they could get to, a fairly low altitude and spherise Earth with a fisheye, but yet have no distortion in the Tesla. What's going on there?
Well, it's two different pictures.
Yeah, of course it is. But as far as people are concerned that are looking at this, they accept that as one image from one camera. But in order to get that sphere Earth from a low altitude, you need an extreme fisheye lens. Well, it would distort the stuff in the foreground as well to a certain extent. But the Tesla looks perfect.
Well, there's hardly... It's actually got... I was going to say it has a light source in it, but that could obviously be the sun, couldn't it? However, look how few clouds there are on the Earth.
This is a joke. All space images are a joke. This is no exception. This is just a bigger joke than most, to the point where even all believers cringe when they see this.
It's real because it looks so fake. Come on.
Now you put it like that, Arwin, I think you're right.
Yeah, I still think it is a piece of art.
Hang on, is that a number 8 on the clouds? Well, no, go back to the image. Is that a number 8 on its side? Or a pair of eyes looking at you on the Earth?
Do you not think that's quite profound, Ranty, what Arwin's just said? I mean, if you think about it, it looks so fake. It must be real, right?
Now, I wasn't the one who said that.
I know, you're quoting Elon Musk.
Said that.
Just play along, play along.
Can you see the eyes in the Earth? Can you see the eyes made out of the clouds?
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yeah, but that's normal. That is the...
Is it normal that it just happened to form clouds that look like a pair of big eyes looking at you?
Yeah. Yes, it is. No,
I was looking for the word sex in the clouds.
Yeah, that's... But in this case, it's a moving picture.
Do you know what, though?
It's very unlikely you'll see copy-pasted clouds in there.
Yeah, but
it's not a still frame.
You do know that they did copy and paste the word sex into the clouds, though, right?
Yeah, I know that. But that's like in a still photo.
I'm going to call this. I'm going to say that this is Patricia Steer exposed. Because I think that's Patricia in that car, because that looks like just like her Mercedes, and that's Patricia. Proves that it's not. I saw pictures yesterday of Patricia actually and doing the exact same thing. Let me think where they were. Have you seen them, Nathan?
Well, she's actually got a thumbnail of her superimposed onto Starman's face. So from that perspective, yeah, there is actually images of Patricia Steer with her cats in the car.
SpaceX logo in the clouds. It could be a SpaceX logo.
Hello again, Dave.
Could you make that an X?
Nah.
Yours?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Hey, the power of technology.
Marvelous.
So it wasn't you that sniped everybody before?
No. Like I said, I've never even used a Hangout before, so this is my maiden voyage. So I hear you guys talking about sniping all the time, but I don't know. Like, is there like a kill the conversation function or something like that? I don't know.
In essence, you can remove everyone from the Hangout as a guest.
Well, there's all the ballers complain that we have an echo chamber. So Nathan's deliberately gone out of his way to try and not have an echo chamber. And this is it. You're in it. Anybody can join anytime and produce evidence of the shape of the Earth in what they think is the shape of the Earth. Right. We can argue about it. We can just discuss about it. We can challenge the evidence, whatever.
Yep.
But it's not an echo chamber. It's free for anybody to join apart from one or two people. Because they just...
Yeah, no, I've been watching you guys for a while, and I know that you're pretty roll out the carpet for any people from the other side of the fence, if you want to say that.
Or even on our side of the fence, if you've got what you think is a flat Earth proof, they can come on, present it, and then we'll look at it. And there was a guy, Jamie Brown, shared a video the other day, a guy claiming to see Anglesey, and Ranty said that that's not true. But that was a flat Earth claim that Ranty said wasn't right. So it's not just ballers; it's people that have got views on the shape of the Earth on both sides that think, "Hey, look, I wonder what this explanation is."
You can't just credit Ranty for that. Ruhif debunked that.
Yeah, but Ruhif's not here.
I don't know.
It was all Ranty.
Since you still have it up, do you want to talk about this Elon Musk flying car thing?
You love to.
You want to talk about it?
Sure, I don't care.
Do you believe there's a Tesla Roadster up in space with some dodgy astronaut in it?
I'd say yes.
Really? Why do you believe that?
Because based on the watching the video, either this is like the most elaborate CGI production, or it's real because there's the shading, the shadow, the lighting, the perspective, etc., etc.
Hold on, don't interrupt him.
Jamie? Hello?
Nope.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, he has to go, Nate, if he's not going to speak straight away. Yeah, I'm going to make an assertion. See this child here with the calpol? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, the kid in the chair. Yeah.
Yeah, this is you, right? And this is NASA giving you evidence of a Tesla Roadster in space, or SpaceX. You ready? Here's the Tesla. There you go. Give it to me. Oh, and I'll take that. Just give it to me. Give it to me. That's you. You'll take anything that NASA or SpaceX give you, no matter how stupid it looks.
Well, I mean, I guess, we can get into the argument of, you say it's fake. What leads you to say that other than, I don't believe they can put a car in space? I mean, if you look at that image and you say, if it's green screen, I can see the transition point, or I can see how the shading is wrong. I can see how the lighting is wrong.
Yeah. So I said,
why can't I see stars? That type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, my one would be, if you're at low altitude, you need, and it's accepted, you need a sphere, a fisheye lens in order to get the Earth to spherize in the way that it has in that image. Hello, Jamie. Can you say hello? So if it doesn't, sorry, just get rid of that person. So you've got a sphere Earth below. Now we accept that it's not got the whole of the entirety. It's not far enough away to see it as an actual sphere. It's an effect of the lens. However, no distortion whatsoever applies to that car, even though apparently they're shot with the same camera. Why would you accept that as anything other than a CGI composite? Because that's precisely what it is.
Sorry, you're saying the fact that you can see the whole Earth is because of the fisheye effect?
Right. No, what he's saying is you have the car in the foreground that's in focus, right, but you also have the planet Earth in the background that's like thousands of miles away that's also in focus.
Right.
If you take any camera and take a picture of something in the foreground, the background is skewered. If you take a picture of the background, the foreground is skewered. So unless you've got a magic camera that can make everything in focus, how is that possible?
Not just the focus. The actual
depends on the aperture setting of the camera and stuff.
No.
So can you give me a real-world example?
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on. Before you misrepresent my argument. No, that's not what I mean. I mean that if you have a fisheye lens, in order to achieve Earth as a ball, apparently, because it's an effect of a fisheye, you can get that shot. I've seen it in model. I've got Chris to model out what lenses would be able to achieve Earth as a ball from what height. It's surprisingly low, so it's definitely an achievable effect. However, you need a fisheye from a low altitude to achieve that effect, and it would distort the thing in the foreground. You see it on some of, hate to cite it, but it's a fact in terms of what's presented, not in terms of what's real, but in the ISS footage. If they're using a fisheye lens, it will also bend things like the solar panels in the near foreground. Well, the car looks perfect.
Right.
Well, no,
but
wrong.
It shouldn't. What's the distance of the car from the Earth at this point in the video? I don't know.
But I know it's high enough to spherize the entire Earth into a circle.
It's probably travelled at least 10 times further away than the ISS. And you think, how long would it have taken the ISS to get into its orbit there? And you believe that this...
It's not true. It's not true, Ranty.
What?
You don't have to get very high with a fisheye to get that effect.
A fisheye?
Yeah, with a fisheye lens. So what I asked Chris to do...
Yeah, but they're not saying this is done with a fisheye lens. They're saying this is just what he's seeing with a normal camera. So to get that far away, you'd have to be halfway to the moon to see the Earth in that size.
Unless you use a fisheye lens.
Not necessarily, because when they showed the pictures of the Earth from the moon, proportionately the Earth is a relatively small part of the picture. So the larger it's going to be as a proportion of the photo, and in this photo or this video, the Earth is a fairly large backdrop, if you want to use that word.
I don't agree. I agree that there's no way it was at least a day's travel from the Earth, and they were showing this probably an hour or so after the launch. Absolute ridiculous.
Not. It's totally achievable. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on. Can you address the comment that Elon Musk said? You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. I'm going to assert that that's an admission that it's fake.
No, it's a...
Hold on, we're asking the guest who's presented it, Arwin.
To NASA, to the early moon landing things, of which was said that some things look...
Arwin, for God's sake, how many times do I have to say? He's asked the guest a direct question, you've answered for him.
Okay, so, I'm not, I will readily admit I am not a psychic mind reader, so why Elon is saying that, or what he's thinking, or he's trying to make light of the conversation, or he's goofing off in an interview because he's nervous, there's a million reasons why he's saying that, but to say that it's proof, to make the assumption that because he says it looks fake, you can infer that it is fake, that is only one perspective of why he may be saying that.
This was the context in which he said it. The sound won't play through, but this is the context. He was sat in front and he was casually, comfortably, calmly discussing and describing what was being said, what was on screen at the time. And if you're going to argue that he's goofing off or whatever, okay, fine. If that's what what you're doing is excusing his behavior rather than explaining it.
I'm providing an alternative explanation. I wouldn't say it's an excuse.
No, you are excusing it. You're not.
I'm providing an alternative explanation.
All right, so do you agree, yes or no? That sounds like an admission.
No.
Depends on your perspective. It depends on your perspective. If you think in general that all space stuff is fake, then you're going to say, hey, he used the word fake. It all lines up with my perspective. Therefore, I'm going to lean towards he's admitting it's fake.
Like that child leans towards the calpol. Give me my calpol. Look.
Yeah, that's right. But he's saying that about us, Anthony. So terrible point, badly made, because you're saying that auto hoaxers will automatically accept it like child will accept Calpol. That's what he's saying. You know.
Yeah, but I'm saying that he's leaning towards.
If your perspective is fake space, then you're automatically going to accept that sentence, that statement, as an admission of fakeness. Whereas he's provided an alternative, which essentially says, well, he could have just been nervous. He's on camera. He's being filmed. He's doing something stressful. You know, his words don't necessarily mean his words. That's what he's saying, which is fair enough. If you
truth be told, I'm nervous being in this hangout. My mouth is terribly dry, and I wish I had more coffee in my cup here, but I don't. But I'm doing my best to try to be as precise and eloquent, because I know you guys really are into like precise language and all that kind of stuff. So I'm doing my best here. So I'm willing to cut Elon a bit of slack for this comment that he made.
I'm a big fan of Elon Musk in terms of the electric cars. I think the P900, the P100D, yeah, the P100D and the Model 3 and the Model X, they're all cool cars, and I love the guy for that basis. On that basis, however, this nonsense to do with SpaceX, he discredits himself completely for me.
Well, I mentioned this I typed this in as a comment, and it sort of got a little bit of a response. But let's continue on with this argument that this is fake, like this whole thing has been faked. So the whole point of this exercise was to say, you can have something as big as a car, and if you want to put it in space, you call 1-800-SpaceX and we'll put it up there for you. So, some company says we want to launch a satellite, we want to put up whatever we want to put up in space. They're going to phone SpaceX and they're going to say, hey, can you put this up, because we saw what you did with the Tesla. Oh, nope, sorry sir, that was just a public relations stunt, we can't really do that. We'd love your money, but can't do it, sorry, try again. Give us 6 months and maybe we'll be able to do it for real. Like, what I mean? Like, aren't they just opening themselves up to being questioned about, hey, you could put your car up but you can't put our stuff up?
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's absolutely the case. They have opened themselves up to that.
Right. And so, like, how long do they think why would they dig that a hole like that for themselves and, go through this charade knowing they're going to have to sort of like deflect and BS people for the rest of eternity? That doesn't seem very logical.
They already have. They have us flat earthers constantly questioning everything. So they already have that.
I'm not sure of the point you're making there.
Well, it doesn't really matter that they've opened themselves up for strange requests, because they're already getting attacked on a constant basis.
Right, but I mean, presumably Elon is in the business of making some money, so he goes through this whole exercise just to, I don't know, toe the party line and pretend the world is round, et cetera, et cetera. He's just going through this as some sort of puppet,
maybe,
and he's not going to get anything out of it.
But playing the other
there could be another. Can I talk for? It could be that he's doing this just to shove in people's face how lame NASA really is.
Yeah,
because they've been working on it for decades. They've not delivered barely anything, and he just, in a very short time with relatively little money, did all this. Just like whoop. But shoving in people's face, like, look, I'm much better than NASA. I can do much more, whether it be illusions or real. I have quick results with very little money. And NASA is useless. And he probably threw in the fake bit. Can I please, for once in my freaking life on a hangout, talk without you interrupting me, Riley?
Keep stopping.
Let Alwyn speak. Come on. He's waited patiently. Just let Alwyn finish.
My point is that he might have thrown the fake in there just as a reference to how fake certain aspects of the moon landings looked, especially the lunar lander. The foil paper, yeah, it looked so incredibly flimsy, like a school project thing. And it worked on the imagination, but in retrospect, it looks really flimsy. And I think the whole, it's real because it looks so fake is a reference to how fake so many aspects of the original Apollo moon landings really looked.
Well, I mean, I can chip in for 2 seconds here on the lunar lander looks flimsy type of thinking or talking point. I mean, if you're building a craft that you have to send from Earth to the moon, obviously lighter is better, right? Because less substantial rockets, et cetera, et cetera. Therefore, and also knowing the fact that if the moon has 1/6 of the gravity, it doesn't have to be built to the same amount of strength, if you want to call it that, or resiliency, because it's going to be residing somewhere or spending time somewhere where the gravity is less and that type of thing. So it's almost like, why build it to Earth standards if it's not on Earth? Because at the moon...
Well, I can respond to that very easily, and it's not the strength of the gravity that's the problem. It's the freaking vacuum of space out there. And if it's flimsy, it's like you have to just one little push and the whole thing just disintegrates instantly. So that's the problem. It's not the gravity of the moon that requires it to be less strong. It's gonna have to float through space. That's the problem. That's why it seems so ridiculous.
Why does it have to be extra strong to float through space?
Why do you think? Because the space is a vacuum, and a vacuum is one of the most powerful forces out there. If it's going to contain air inside of it, then that air is going to have to oppose the strength of the hull and the entire vacuum space out there.
It's in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively low amount of air pressure it has to maintain within it.
Yeah,
right?
No.
How do you know that?
I mean,
it's going to oppose the entire vacuum of space.
How do you know that?
Would you agree that the reason a submarine is so, coated in all that metal, et cetera, is because it's protecting the amount of weight created by the water. It is not that strong, built to those tolerances to keep the air in.
Yeah, but we can test that. We can see it. I can literally put a vessel under my bathtub water and see how the pressure affects it. I can do a very small scale test to verify that. Whereas what I asked was, how do you know that is how space operates? How is it that you know this?
Sorry, when you say, how do I know space behaves like this, like what particular part of space, quote unquote, are you talking about?
All of it.
Any particular part that you reference at all, ever.
Well, I'm using the logic of if space is if the ship has to be built to a level that can maintain internal air pressure, it's almost like, why overbuild it? Again, going back to the arguments of, you have to send this thing out there, so the lighter the better, the less bulky, et cetera, because,
why? What's
obviously
out there?
It involves rockets.
That's my point. What's out there?
A whole lot of nothing. It's called space. I don't know what else to say.
And how have you checked this?
Didn't catch it, man.
How have I checked the fact that space exists?
Yes, you use the word fact. So you assert it as a fact. How do you know it's a fact?
Well, I'll go for a flippant answer. They don't call them spacesuits for nothing.
So you've got a spacesuit and you've used it in space, have you?
Not me personally, no.
Right, so I'll ask again, how do you know the conditions of space?
Based on what is written by people who have space as their expertise.
So basically it's down to what's written in a book. A bit like people telling me that Jesus is real because they read that in a book. That's a similar sort of thing, right?
Sorry, just drinking here. It depends what you're talking. It depends on the sense of if you're saying can you treat the Bible as a source of truth based on its contents? That's a debate for the ages. Can you have people who are supposedly knowledgeable, scientific, who would be called out by other people within a scientific community if they were publishing books about space that are like basically nonsense? I think there's a bit of a different criteria when it comes to evaluating the air quotes truthfulness of what is in a particular book.
But it's down to what's in a book as opposed to what you have checked and verified. So unlike me with a pressurized vessel I can put under my bathtub water, you will accept what is written because other people who are not you tell you that they are credible, correct?
And someone's willing to pay them to do it. Yep.
Right, so a priest who's paid to tell you that what's written in his book is credible, and there are plenty of the priests that say, this guy's telling the truth, that's acceptable in the same way as the stuff that NASA tells you and writes down in a book is also acceptable. In essence, you have a belief in space based on the priesthood of NASA.
And all the other space agencies and all the other astronomers, astrophysicists, etc., etc.
Yeah, but those don't actually, they've never seen space themselves. That's all theory or distant remote viewing, and then assuming that is a vacuum of space. So
but you accept that you cannot verify it, you have not verified it, and you are taking it on faith. You accept that, yes?
Well, it's one of the, I guess, is it a truism of life that at some point you got to believe in somebody?
No,
you know what I mean?
So I'll say it one more time. You asserted that things that go under the water, called submarines, need to be pressurized to withstand the force of the water, and I explained that I can verify that using my bathtub and a small-scale experiment to justify to my own satisfaction that is a fact. You have asserted that space is a certain way because it's a fact. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Can you hear us?
Muffled.
Oop, he's gone, I think.
So you have a belief based on what is told to you by men in white coats.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Glad to accept that you basically are a believer.
Do you accept that you're a believer?
In light of the fact that I don't see a lot of contradictory evidence to what those particular, air quotes, white coat people are saying, I'll go with them.
So what about the Bible then in terms of religion? That's a book that teaches things. Why would you not believe that?
Depends what you want to. Depends on what you are believing in. Are you believing in the moral message? Are you believing in, like, no, really, there was a guy who stood at the, edge of the water and with a wave of his hand he parted the seas, like,
Yeah, but you do realize that there is evidence that did actually happen, though, right?
Unfortunately, I'm not a biblical scholar, so I haven't done a lot of research on that.
Well, the sea receded exactly the way it was described in the area that it was described. They can prove that with facts. That is something that did actually happen. Whether he did it with the raising of his hand is not my point. My point is the event itself did seem to happen. There is evidence that supports that. But my question is, why would you believe men in white coats ahead of...
Because it's a... what do you want to call it? Self-regulating or self-checking system, in the sense of, these white coats will verify or call out or question what the other white coats are saying.
Yeah, but we know that they don't do that, though.
Well, that's a pretty big blanket statement.
Yeah, but to be honest, I see that particular point, sorry Anthony, as irrelevant. It's about verification. That's why I keep using the example of my bathtub. Now, I can't disprove that there's a Tesla in space, and if you want to believe that there is a Tesla in space, that's fine. You are entitled to your belief in the same way the Christians and the Muslims and all the other religions are entitled to their belief. But they accept that it's just based on faith. You have faith in the men in white coats, as opposed to actually verifying any of it for yourself. So long as you accept that you have a religious belief, that's fine by me. Believe what you like.
I'm saying the reason I believe the Elon Musk Tesla video, if you want to call it that, the car in space video, is that, to my eye, I don't see any deception being done.
But to your eye,
it looks genuine
it's
to
not
me.
To your eye. It's not your eyes looking at something in reality. It's you looking at a television screen.
Well, yes, there is that one layer of abstraction, but the fact that we're conversing through Google Hangout means there's a layer of abstraction that is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, this isn't an edited call.
Sorry, you cut out there a little bit.
It's not. We're not edited. This isn't an edited call. No, this is absolutely real time, pre-prepared presentation, which is very, very different.
True, but then I would have to. Would it be fair for me to make the argument? How can you prove that footage of the Tesla is prepackaged or whatever manipulated?
I can't. No. I just can't verify it. So that's what I'm saying. If you look at it and accept it as proof and evidence and true and real, then you can. But it is a belief. It's not verified. It's not your experience. It's simply a presentation that has been given to you by somebody else in a prepackaged format. I mean, it's not that anybody would deny that has been preordained to happen, prepackaged and presented to you in a certain format, and indeed edited after the fact on the YouTube live stream. They've changed certain aspects of it and kept it as being, quote, live, which in itself is fraudulent in my opinion.
The fact that they're just re-looping the same footage over and over in quote unquote a live stream. I mean, that's I'm not gonna necessarily fault them for that, because they're not the ones doing that exclusively. I mean, there's plenty of people who just loop stuff or whatever in a live stream, but it's not live anymore. It may have been live at one point, but not anymore.
It's edited after the fact. Why would you accept anything that says it's live? If I was capable of changing this conversation and cutting out various different sections of what you had said to change the context, that would be outrageous if I was to claim that this was then a live broadcast, because it's not. It's then an edited broadcast. But they've literally changed what they actually presented to the public and kept the word live, which is outrageous.
All they did was put the correct footage.
And with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. And also a massive, enormous thank you to all of the live panel for making this debate possible. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and hopefully with my actual sound open on this occasion, finally get the outro right after muting at the beginning. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.